Olá, sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um Higher Education Sessions Austrália. Essa é uma série de eventos online promovidos pela West1 com suporte do Governo da Austrália, chiquérrimo, que vai te contar tudo o que você precisa saber para realizar um curso superior na Austrália. Hoje eu vou conversar com a Samantha Milton, que é Regional Marketing Manager da Griffith University em Queensland. A gente vai conversar em inglês, vou fazer várias perguntas para a Samantha. Ela não fala português, mas é claro que a gente legendou esse vídeo para você se sentir mais confortável durante essa conversa.
Oi.
Samantha, do you know anything any Portuguese words?
Only very rude words. I probably shouldn't say.
Are you Australian? What is your background?
Yeah, I'm Australian and my partner's Brazilian. So
you told me.
he speaks a lot of Portuguese to me, but he's normally just yelling in the car, swearing at people. I know, like eu sou bonita.
That's a very important word. Great.
I know little things, but not much.
That's so cute. Well, but first of all, I would like to thank you for being here with us, participating on this event. Our main goal is promoting Australia as an higher education destination for Brazilian students around the world, and obviously talk through the institutions, the options, etc. So we have today Griffith University. And if you could please introduce yourself and introduce Griffith University, that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you. So yes, my name is Sam and I work at Griffith University. I look after all the students, international students that are here, as well as students in Latin America and Brazil. I have lived in Australia majority of my life in both the Gold Coast and Brisbane. But I also have lived overseas and studied in Europe, and I lived in London for a couple of years. So I've also gone and studied in different countries. So I understand what it's like being an international student and all of the amazing stuff, but also all the scary stuff. So a little bit about Griffith University. Griffith is one of the largest universities in Australia. We have around about 50,000 students, and we have 5 campuses that go across both Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
Okay.
So 2 major cities in Australia. And we are in the top 2% of universities worldwide. We're in the top 50 universities in the world under 50 years old. So we're a fairly young university, but we do really well in the rankings. We are number 1 in Australia for nursing, number 1 in Australia for hospitality and tourism, and number 1 in Australia for law and criminology.
Wow. And you guys, you have a podcast, right?
Yes, yeah, we have a podcast. We also have an innocence program where we kind of like Kim Kardashian, where people look at old cases and see if they were if sent to jail incorrectly. So yeah, we have a lot around criminology and law that's happening here.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's very nice. So I would like to start talking a little bit about the location, because many people is under the impression that living in Australia means really have the Gold Coast experience, like the surfing, all the being very sportive, and that.
Yeah.
So, is that true? Really true?
Look, the Gold Coast, I would say, is what people think when they think of Australia. So, as I said, Griffith goes across Brisbane and the Gold Coast. So Brisbane is the 3rd largest city in Australia with around about 4 million people. And then the Gold Coast is the 6th largest city with just under 1 million people. The Gold Coast sits along 42 kilometres of beachfront. So pretty much everywhere you are on the Gold Coast, you are right near beautiful sandy white beaches. But we also are right near a rainforest as well. So beautiful nature. A lot of people, I think Brazilians see the similar culture when they come to both Brisbane and Gold Coast, because people love barbecues, people love going outdoors, they love going for walks, swimming, cycling. The other good thing is where we're situated in Australia compared to Sydney and Melbourne, it is a lot warmer. So the climate is more similar to Brazil. It is also a lot cheaper. So Gold Coast is the most affordable city in Australia for students to live. It's about 40% cheaper than living in Sydney. And both Gold Coast and Brisbane are cheaper than Sydney and Melbourne.
Great.
I guess the other thing as well about living in Australia that all my Brazilian friends and my partner says is that it's very, very safe. Very safe place to live, even for a female. You can walk at home, like go home at night time, walk through parks. You can leave your bag on a bench and sort of walk away. It's not going to get stolen. So it's quite a safe place to live as well.
Another important topic that you already told a little bit about, but if you could please be more like deep into it, is the programs. Like, tell a little bit to our audience which kind of programs they can find at Griffith University.
We have over 200 degrees. And we have obviously our bachelor's and our master's and our research programs. So we do pretty much everything. So in the health space, we have the largest health department in Australia. So that has things like medicine, dentistry, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, nursing, midwifery, psychology, counselling, nutrition, sports science, midwifery, paramedicine. We have a whole range of different programs there. So that's probably something that we're very well known for. Another area that we are known for is our environmental sciences. So we do things like environmental science, marine science. We have water management. We have global development. We also have, our engineering, IT, aviation. And then we have all of our law, arts and education. And we also do really well in things like film, design, music, and visual arts as well. So we pretty much have it all. And that goes across Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's pretty massive. So can an international student access any kind of scholarships? This is kind of important for us.
Yeah. So for 2023, for next year, we do have 3 main scholarships. So we have a 20% scholarship, and that will be 20% off your program, a 25% scholarship, and then a 50% scholarship. So the 20 and the 25 will be automatically applied, and that is due to your GPA, your high school results, your previous study at university, and that will be automatically applied. You don't even need to make an application. And then we have a 50% scholarship, which is a separate application. And there are only maybe 30, 40 of them a year. So they're a little bit more competitive for the 50%. But majority of students when coming here will be receiving one of those 3 scholarships.
That's impressive, actually, because it's a bit different than in Brazil, right? We have like different kind of scholarships in Brazil. So I was saving this question for further on, but I think as you mentioned a little bit about the admission process, in Brazil we have a bit different kind of admission process than it is in Australia. So would you mind letting us through the admission process?
So students can apply directly, but we would always recommend going through one of our agents. The reason being is they will understand all our programs, all the entry requirements, and how to apply. I would say go through one of the agents and then have a look at the program and make sure that you meet the academic and the English requirements. Then you will submit an application. We will assess that. So it could take up to 3 or 4 weeks for us to assess the program. You also might be able to apply for credit. So if you're coming to a program that's similar, you might be able to receive 6 months or 1 year off your program because of your previous study. Then once you receive an offer, you'll be able to get, it's called a confirmation of enrollment, and you will use that to then get your student visa to come and study in Australia.
Let's talk a little bit about the English requirement, because it might be the one of the Brazilians' biggest concerns. How the English requirement is attested and how good the fluency has to be in order to be accepted at Griffith.
Yes. So for all our standard programs, students will be needing around an IELTS 6.5. But we also accept alternative English tests. So students can sometimes do a PTE, a Cambridge, a TOEFL. So they will need some sort of English unless they've studied in an English-speaking country previously.
Okay.
Also, if students don't have that English, there are a range of different pathways they can look at. So for Griffith itself, we have our own English Language Institute. So students can actually package their visa and come and study 10 weeks, 20 weeks English with us and then move on to their degree. Or we also have different pathways and partners that they can go study English or even study something like a diploma, which will feed into our programs. So there's lots of different ways in which students can meet that English requirement.
Kind of to warm up a little bit, right? Because sometimes you need to warm up your English before going to the university.
Yeah.
So without a shadow of a doubt, we can say that Australia delivers an immersive experience, considering not only the environment, but also the location. It's a bit far from Brazil. So sometimes the international student can feel a little bit lost or lonely. So I would like to know if they have any kind of student support at Griffith, and if yes, how does it work?
Yes, definitely. I think firstly, just on that, I want to say that the community here on the Gold Coast and in Brisbane for Brazilians is the largest in Australia. So when looking at coming to study over here, you will receive your own community and you will be able to have, Portuguese speaking people that understand what you're going through. But for the university itself, when you have a look at our support services, we offer pretty much everything. So we have doctors on campus. We have counselling sessions. So counselling could be because you're feeling stressed or anxious. You could do academic counselling because you're not sure about the program you're studying. We also have counselling for careers. So if you want to talk to people about getting a job and what you should do next. With our career service, we also have people on campus that help our students find paid work when they arrive. So they'll be able to help you find a job that, just a casual job to earn some money. We also have, a mentor system. So when our students get here, we can also give them an industry mentor to help them find jobs when they graduate, help them with their LinkedIn or their e-portfolios. So all that sort of services and support in employment. We also have different clubs and societies. So when students arrive here, they can get involved in sporting clubs, they can get involved in cultural clubs. We also have an international student club called MATES. And our MATES program is essentially there to support our international students with different social activities so that they can, practice their English. They have barbecues on campus. They take students on like excursions to beaches and out to the bush. And they also have a buddy program. So when they arrive, students will receive a buddy that is in a year above them, who will be able to sort of show them around campus and help them with any questions they have. Yeah, so lots of different support services. We have, if you come to campus and you've forgotten your wallet, we have people there that will provide you with, money to buy lunch. If you're LGBTQI+, if you have a disability, anything like that, we have all the support services. You just have to come and ask.
That's amazing, because I always say that socializing when you are an international student is not an option. You have to, in order to feel home, in order to feel like safe, in order to integrate into the new.
It's so important. It's so important to make friends and also meet Australian people, also other international students, because that's what you're coming here to do. So we always say, get involved in the clubs and societies. People that do get involved are more likely to stay and do well at the university than people that don't. So we really, really push that, come join the soccer team or the football team. Just do some stuff to get to know people, because then you'll be able to develop your own community.
Yeah. That really makes the difference when you are abroad. Like, I was an international student myself, so I know that can be kind of hard, especially because I think you know that Brazilians are very attached to their families and
Yep.
after graduating, has the student the real opportunity to stay in Australia and work? Because I know Australia has the 485 visa, graduate
Mhm.
visa, right? That
Yes.
allows the student to stay a little bit. I would like you to not, you don't need to go deep into it because I think it's the immigration process, but I think we have to just to talk a little bit about. And but my question is more like employability. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
after graduating, Australia is prepared to really incorporate the student in the work environment.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things to say on that. So, firstly, when students come to Australia, previously they were able to work 20 hours a week. At the moment, that's been lifted and they can work as long as they like, but probably next year it will go back to maybe 25, 30 hours a week. So, when you're here, you're already making connections, and a lot of people are already working in industries that they are potentially looking to get a job in when they graduate. When students graduate in Australia, you get a graduate visa. So a graduate visa is normally 2 years after a bachelor's program or 3 years after a master's. So if you were to study in Brisbane, once you finish your program, you can stay for 2 or 3 years working. If you study on the Gold Coast, because it's regional, you get an additional year. So for an undergraduate program, 3 years, and for a master's or postgraduate program, 4 years. So students are able to stay and work for that amount of time. If you're looking at specific industries, we also have occupational skilled lists and specialist visas. So if you are in specific health areas or maybe in construction management areas like that, you might be able to stay even longer. And there is discussions by the government to potentially extend certain visas. So keep an eye on that. Make sure you talk to a migration agent. But there is definitely possibility to stay 2 to 4 years after graduating and working full time.
Perfect. And when it comes to employability, do you believe that it's easy to the student really, like, after graduating, get a job? And
Yeah, so obviously that varies depending on what degree the students are studying. At the moment, Australia is the unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been. We are desperate for people to come and work. There's not enough people working in so many different industries. And Queensland, which is the state that Griffith is in, is actually leading the way. So Queensland in the last couple of months created 70% of all new jobs in Australia.
Whoa.
So people, when they think about Australia, they always think about Sydney and Melbourne. But up in Queensland, we're the fastest growing area at the moment. Brisbane just won the bid for the 2032 Olympics. So I think there's going to be a lot of growth in this area in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So there is lots of different opportunities. As I mentioned, the university itself will provide you with assistance with, getting mentors, getting internships, finding jobs, how to apply for jobs. So there is a lot of support for students when graduating to get positions. And just depending on what area it is they're studying, some students might decide to go regionally. So there's lots of jobs for education and nursing a little bit regionally, so out in like the outback. But it really depends on what you're studying. But at the moment, every industry is crying out for people. So it's a good time to come over and start, finding different positions.
That's great. Really, we have been listening to it in the last couple of months, so it's very interesting to have someone who is in Australia in the industry to talk a little bit about it. So it was not in our script, but I would like to ask you if a Brazilian student want to enroll at Griffith University, when is your next intake? Because it's not, it depends on, right? The course.
Every program's different, but our main intake, our first intake for next year is going to be at the end of February. Okay. So I think orientation is the last week of February, and then the first week of March will be classes. So that's our next intake. Otherwise, the following intake would be June, July.
Okay.
And they're our main 2 intakes per year. Most programs will have entry into those intakes.
Great.
So just keeping in mind as well, you should probably keep 2 to 3 months ahead before applying, because you do need to make sure that your visa comes in time. Also coming across, making sure that you have accommodation, that you're settled before orientation starts. So that's just a few things to keep in mind.
Great. Okay. Great. I would like to thank you. Do you want to highlight something else, like something that we didn't cover up and you want to talk a little bit about?
No, I think I mentioned everything. You know, I understand, because I have a lot of Brazilian friends. Just keeping in mind that, you know, where we are is very warm, safe, and very affordable. Another thing I think we didn't talk about is that Australia has a very high per hour wage. So if students do want to come over here, a lot of the time, depending on what you're doing, you'll find that your quality of life is a lot higher. So yes, food and accommodation are more expensive, but the minimum wage in Australia is about $35 an hour. So quite a lot, quite a lot of money. And then I think our minimum wage is about $23. So anything you're doing, you would be paid at least $23 an hour. But, you know, cleaners over here, cleaners are earning about $30 to $40 an hour. Uber drivers get about $30 to $40 an hour. So whatever it is you want to do, you'll be able to hopefully earn some good money whilst you're studying as well, and have a really good quality of life.
Yeah, I think Australia is a really great destination for international students. We are really making an effort to make it more popular when it comes to higher education. So yes, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, please. Yeah, and that's it. So if they want to enroll at Griffith University, they can call us.
Contact us one.
They'll
be able to help you.
Yeah, we can like make the whole plan to your exchange program through Griffith University for sure. Thank you so much. I love it.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.
My name is Flavia. I studied at Griffith University. I had amazing teachers. They were always very helpful, and I always had time to enjoy myself. Griffith helped me to achieve my dream of teaching.
Bom, pessoal, por hoje é isso. Eu espero que vocês tenham gostado dessa nossa conversa com a Samantha. A gente conseguiu, acho que, passar por pontos importantes, né, na hora de pensar, planejar ou considerar a Austrália como um destino para fazer seu bacharelado, seu mestrado. Se você quiser saber um pouco mais sobre os programas da Griffith University, basta você apontar o seu celular aqui, ó, para esse QR Code que está na tela, e você solicita o contato com um consultor educacional da USTUAN, especialista no assunto, em que vai te levar para todas as suas opções de cursos, né, na Griffith University, na Austrália como um todo. Eu espero que vocês tenham gostado. Se você tem algum comentário, alguma, enfim, sugestão para fazer aqui para a gente, para essa série, deixa aqui embaixo nos comentários, tá bom? Um beijo, até a próxima, tchau!